Hello, Deck It Out DIYers, and welcome to our first month of our Deck It Out Gnome of the Month subscription box. This box for our gnomes are going to be a surprise every month to your mailbox, your doorstep, or if you choose to do local pickup. So thank you so much for joining us for our first month. We are kicking off our newest box with a little patriotic goodness. We're going to dive in to how to assemble this gnome. But as you can see from your kit, which I'm about to go through, each piece is one that you will put together. There are no stencils in this kit, which makes it super fun. And your gnome can stand. So let's get started in our newest Gnome of the Month Deck It Out DIY box subscription. In your monthly Gnome of the Month subscription box, you will have the following supplies. We give you red, white, and blue paint, black paint. You will have a board that looks like this with all of your cutouts. So this is your gnome, and we're going to attach all of that to this chunky cutout so that your gnome will stand. You'll have white sponges, glue, sandpaper, and little detail or touch-up brushes, okay? So when you first get your kit, you unpack it. You'll also have this craft paper that will protect your work surface. Just make sure you have all your supplies and contact us right away if something is missing. And then we'll go through this tutorial. Now these are all individual pieces. So what I like to have on hand when I create painter's tape, you may be able to reuse what's on here, but sometimes you're not. So just if you have painter's tape or masking tape, that might be helpful. It's not required. And I like to have baby wipes on hand because they just clean up anything. This paint is not washable, so if you're working on this project with kids, just make sure they put on a paint shirt or are extra careful. So first, I will have you remove all of your pieces. So you can just take your tape, and I'm going to try to reuse this painter's tape, so I'm going to lay it nicely. You'll see some of your little pieces come out. And then let's talk about each piece. What I find to be most helpful is laying out and grouping the pieces by the color I'm going to paint them. Okay, so here we have his hat, and his hat has all these little pieces. Now you'll notice that these are the back because there's the burn marks. So you'll want to keep everything kind of grouped together as well. So I'm going to take this part off. This is garbage. Okay. These are his feet. Okay, they'll go on here. So I'm going to flip them over. I'm going to paint those probably red because I really like red. I'm going to paint his hat red, so I'm putting that in a pile over here. I'm going to paint this part of his hat that was the insert. I'm going to paint that blue. I'm going to paint the stripes and the stars white. This is his nose. I'm going to paint that like a pinkish color. And again, we'll work on blending our colors. His beard, I'm going to paint that gray. You just want to make sure that you're putting this on so that it fits, okay? So if you want to like dry fit, oh, I guess we are going to go like this. Okay. If you want to like dry fit this so that it works and you know which way you're painting, that's also helpful. A little helpful tip, because it does fit one way. As you can see, his beard is cut a certain way. So if we flip this over, it won't match. Oops, so we're going to paint it this way. So I'm painting that grayish white, painting this red, white, blue. These are his hands, so I'll paint them the same color as the nose. And then this is the star that he's gonna hold. His hands hold the star. So for that, I think I'm gonna do blue because I don't have a lot of blue going on. Now you do not have to paint this. However, I am going to paint the edge because that will be visible. So I'm gonna paint this first, and I'll probably paint a little bit over the side. So I'm gonna take my white sponge and pull some of the paint off, dab a little bit off so it's not dripping, and I'm gonna paint my edges. So you don't need too much paint, just paint your edges. It'll give it a more finished look. And then we'll talk about how to paint all of the little pieces. All right, when you're done painting your gnome, I ended up painting both sides because then no matter where I stand it, it will be a completed look all the way around. Now, if when you were painting, you had a little bit of fuzz from your sponge, you can just wipe it off once it's dry, it'll come off. We also included the sandpaper because if some of your edges are a little bit frayed, you could sand that off. If you wanted a little bit more of a distressed look, you could add that in. So just use that sandpaper if you want to go around and smooth out some edges or add a little distressing around your gnome. Okay, so there we go. So he's dry. We're gonna let him dry. Now before you start painting again, I want you to figure out dry fit to make sure that all of these pieces are going to fit again, because it would be not very fun if we started painting and then we painted the wrong side. So I'm going to make sure that all my pieces fit on the side that I'm going to paint. So these are the critical pieces right here. These 4 pieces must fit, and then we will take and add these parts in. So it does look like I'm flipping them. So I will just flip my pieces over, and then you're gonna fit them together like a puzzle. Okay, when we are done. All right, so to paint your pieces, this is why I like the blue tape. I mixed up my order here. So I was painting this blue and I'm painting the star blue. If you put it on the tape, now when you paint, you can hold the tape with your fingers instead of holding the pieces. It will be really helpful for these small pieces that we have the stars. I'm gonna paint these white so they can be next to each other because they're small and they're getting painted the same colors. I'm gonna put the stripes on there as well. And then I did save another piece, and these were my pinkish colored pieces as well. Okay, so tape them down or put them on the tape. When you paint the little pieces, you're gonna grab your sponge. I'm not doing red, I'm doing blue. Dip it in your paint, pull the paint off the cup side so you don't have a lot of paint, dab a little bit off, and then gently dab. Now these are cut on a laser, which means that their edges are burnt. That's why they're black. You don't have to paint them, but you certainly can if you would like. With the stars, I would not paint the edges because number 1, you're not gonna see them, but number 2, if you get paint in the star spot, they're not going to fit together properly. Okay, and that's the same for these insert pieces. Don't paint the edges because they will not fit together properly. Okay, so nice light coats, thickness of tissue paper. You can always come back and paint more, but I would do nice clean coats that are thin so that they dry fast. And then you'll paint each of the pieces, okay? When you get to the beard, if you want a more gray look, you can mix your colors of white and black. For the hands and nose, I'm going to mix pink and red to do a little bit of a pink tone for the hands and nose. Okay, so what I'll encourage you to do is paint all of your pieces, and then we will come back for the assembly process. All right, once you are done painting all of your pieces, you've mixed your paint, if you need to use, or if you need another sponge, you can always cut these off. So in the studio, we just trim off the bottom and reuse them. That's why you'll see some of the bigger sponges and then some of the smaller sponges, because I just cut off the bottom part and then reuse. So that's a little trick to keep you, if you want to keep these from project to project as well, because then you'll just have more to use. Now we'll assemble. So my pieces are dried or drying. And now we will assemble. So make sure that your beard fits the way you want it. Your hat fits the way you want it. These are the critical pieces to get laid out, just to make sure everything, oh, I love his red shoes. Everything fits before you glue it, because you can switch it. You know, if we have to go to the other side, you can switch it around if you have the non-fit issue. Then you'll just take your glue. Now this is super glue, so it will stick to your hands, and if your fingers get it on them, they will stick to each other. So be careful with your super glue. You don't need a crazy amount. And then just line up your pieces when you glue them down. And this will fit together like a puzzle. This is kind of fun because every month you're going to get a new gnome, and it will be similar in respects to, it will be kind of like a puzzle that you put together. So you don't have to worry about stencils. And when you paint, you'll be able to separate the pieces, paint the pieces, and put it together. So it's gonna look amazing. Okay, you'll get to put it all together. And every month is gonna be a new surprise, a surprise gnome. So continue putting your pieces together. I hope you love this box, and we'll see him when he's done. And there you have it, your first Gnome of the Month kit. So much fun, so cute. Will look great on a tiered tray. Will look good in your house on a shelf. It's the perfect patriotic gnome. What I did notice when I was putting this together, and maybe you did as well, these white pieces, I thought they also looked really cool not put in. So if you leave out these little pieces, that would just add a little bit more dimension, so it's not just the flat back. But you always, like, I did put them in, but I thought the stars looked cool out and the stripes looked cool out too. So I'm excited to see how you paint your gnome, because you have the same colors, but could turn out very different. So please post in our Deck It Out DIYer Facebook group, post it on our Deck the Halls DIY Studio Facebook and Instagram page. We would love to see what you're creating. Tag us in social media, and we'll see you next month for your next surprise Gnome of the Month kit.